It looks horrible in the thumbnail.
It's okay, nobody cares.
Really?
Yes. Because I have a lot of people look funny. Okay, so factoring. We talked about everything must go through GCF. So everything has to go through GCF. So every time you look at a factoring question, you should consider GCF first before you consider anything else. Is that okay? So what happened is gonna have here two terms. And that's gonna be a squared minus b squared, which is we talked about yesterday. It's a plus b times a minus b. And we also talked about a to the cube minus b to the cube is a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. This is sum and difference of the cube. Okay, so, and we also talk about a squared plus b squared is factorable. It's going to be a plus bi times a minus bi. Okay, so this is true term. So now it comes down to four terms, which is factored by grouping. Not obviously, not always factored by grouping, right? It's factored by grouping is, like yesterday's challenge question was four terms, but it was not factored by grouping. So there are other things that can be involved. So four terms or more can have other options. And this option is going to be inclusion synthetic division. Factor theorem is combination of all three. And remainder theorem. Okay, so four term, but we're not going to talk about this part because we're going to talk about later. It's a whole chapter by itself. So we're going to wait until later. Okay. Now we're going to go to three terms. Three terms. So here's a problem with three terms. Three terms, all the simple ones, especially in this classroom, you guys can factor those. X squared minus x minus 6. Those are easily done. So how do you factor something that is a little bit more challenging and number is much greater? Okay, so we're gonna start this question. So we're not gonna do like this, but if you don't know how to do this, that's okay because it's gonna go back to apply this. Now we're gonna start with questions a little bit harder. So it's gonna be 5x squared plus 29x and minus 42. Last time I already gave you some challenge, like says, can you factor something that's greater than 1? When leading coefficient is not 1, do you know how to factor this? Can I create a method for you that you can factor this easily? Okay, so you have to think about this way. Is somebody in this room should be able to do, but if you're not able to do it, we can try to teach you again. Now we're gonna start with teaching this way because you can apply back to here. Okay, so I'll give you another, last time I give you 40 seconds, now this time I'll give you 1 minute. See if you can factor your own way. See if you can factor it. So I'm gonna set a timer for you.
The first one.
The second one.
The second one.
Set a timer for 1 minute.
Your timer is set for 1 minute.
So let's see if you guys can factor it correctly in 1 minute. And I'll come look at yours if you factor correctly. Whatever way you learned in the past. Whatever you think is helpful. You don't have to do it my way. I don't force students to do it my way. I only force students that do it my way if they cannot do it in 1 minute. I know in the past there's few students that choose to do their own way and they do it fine. How many of you guys did it? Nobody? Okay, so then we teach you my way, because that's my goal, is to make sure everybody using one way to do it. But if you prefer your own way, you better be able to do it by yourself. So we're gonna teach you a way that you can work. So usually I will write it out, but usually a lot of people do this. How many of you guys did this kind of method? How many of you guys did bottom up? This is something called bottom up method. You did? Bottom up? Okay. You learned it from Mr. Brenner? No, Brenner didn't teach bottom up. Brenner teaches the way I did it, because I taught him how to do it.
Yeah, but it's hard.
Okay, so it's really easy. So this is actually a way that in this school it started with another teacher that kind of helped me with it. And they actually they use that in Kuma as well. Those of you guys who know Kuma, which you've been Kuma before. Okay. So what happens is you're gonna do first, last, middle, right? First, last, middle, and you're gonna including the sign with you. So the first term is a 5x squared. Now you don't have to write everything out. I usually write down 5, -42, and 29. So it's kind of help me here. But right now I'm gonna write everything out just to show you that it's easier. 42 and a 29x. First, last, middle. Okay. So why did I make that arrangement? It's not first, middle, last, because that's a bad acronym. Okay. FML.
Oh.
You don't do
Oh,
that.
I get it.
So first, last, middle. So first, last, middle. So here, the way I kind of think about it is, those of you guys have middle child in your house. Who's middle child in your house? Okay, it sucks to be you, right?
Yeah.
So I know what you guys talking about, because the middle child sucks.
Oh wait,
Not
that's
really.
right. That needs to go out the window. The window.
I
don't read it. Wait, let me just go through here. Should I use this? Back?
Okay.
Wait,
That's okay. That's okay. You want me to put it on live stream that you throw my phone out the window? So that way nobody uses the phone in my class.
His phone's in here. Oh, it's still on. So, right? It's still on.
That's Mr. Ye's phone. Benjamin's thrown out of my window because I was using it for a timer.
why'd they go off out
You
there?
could have counted in your head.
Huh?
You could have counted in your head.
Benjamin, I don't like you. You're gonna fail next test.
We can't see it. I have to like bend it more in.
It's still ringing.
Like you have to go out and
No, that's as far as it goes.
so like you have to go out.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay.
That's gonna be.
No, like this side.
I'm so
Yeah, we can see
Can
it.
you go back outside there and turn it off? Because it bothers me teaching.
We're gonna take
This
it.
year just started to math.
Okay, so well, we're gonna multiply these two numbers together. So we say it's 5x and x. So 5x times x equal to 5x squared. Now we're gonna multiply this two number. This two number is gonna be multiplied together. It's gonna be 42. But I will think about all the factors. 1 and 42, and then 2 and 28, and then 4 and what? 4 doesn't work.
Wait, isn't it
5 and 6 and 7.
2 and 21, sorry, 2 and 21, and 6 and 7. But here's the thing, there's a conspiracy about textbook. Conspiracy with textbook is this. All the new textbook is always using the factor that's closer to each other. Okay? Sometimes perfect square trinomial is going to be really, really next to each other. So 6 times 7 is the way I would use it. So I will do 6 and 7, but I'm going to do it purposely wrong here. I'm going to do 6 and 7 here. Now 5 times 6 is 30x, and this is 7x. But the problem is, if I add this two term, it's going to give me 37x. If I subtract those two terms, it's going to give me 23. So this part I'm going to do is adding. Why add? Because if I would just want to make sure the sum, the term is going to be the middle term. So here, I'm going to say, if I add those two, it's not going to give me 29. If I subtract those two, it's not going to give me 29. That means my order is wrong. So I'm going to switch this to 6 and 7. If it doesn't work, you can try 2 and 21. So if I do that, what will happen? I'm going to get, wait, that's the same one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 7 and 6, so that's going to be 35x, and that's going to be 6x. If I add together, it's going to give me 41. If I subtract together, it's going to give me 29, which is numbers correct. Now I just have to go back to make sure the sign. So 5x times x equal to 5x squared. We can put a check mark here. 7 times 6 is not going to give me negative 42, but it's going to give me positive 42. Therefore, one of them must be negative. So I have to pick which is negative sign. 6. Okay. Now, if this is negative 29, you're going to pick this one's negative sign. So, negative sign. And if this is negative, this must be negative. So 7 times negative 6 is negative 42. This 2 add together is going to give me this. This times this is going to be this. This times this is going to be this. I can put all the check mark here. So that means my box is correct. So I'm going to pair diagonally. So it'll be 5x minus 6 to x plus 7. Now, do you guys prefer your old way to do a problem? I understand. Now, I'll just give you a plan B in case you cannot factor it, just like I just give you a minute. I can do this in 1 minute. I can even write a shorthanded, so it'll be 5, 1, 7, negative 6, and that's it. I think everything else in my head. That's pretty much I write down 4 numbers. Okay, so I think about this is a 5, this is 42, this is 35, this is negative 6, this is 29. So I think about all those numbers inside my head. But that's how I did it. But you guys are more welcome to work everything out. So now we're gonna ask you to try one problem. Okay? See if you guys can do this problem much easier. So here we're gonna give you this problem. Says 6x squared minus 11x minus 10. Now sometimes they both can be negative too. If they're both negative, this will become back to positive. So you have to pay attention to that too. So let's try if you know how to factor this properly. See if it's easier. And you also can try the easier problem too. So you can start with this problem and then this problem. Some people can prefer to use the easier way, which is your way before. You got it? Okay, that's good. So which way did you use? Your old way?
No,
This way?
that was my own.
Oh, that was your old way? So that's good. Also pair diagonally, okay? Because the box method, the x, you pair diagonally. So you're gonna take a pair from diagonal way and take a pair for diagonal way. So it's a puzzle you can figure out. How many of you guys got it? Okay, good. How many of you guys have not got it? Okay, I'll give you a moment. And if you you gotta try the next problem, which is has an a squared, ab, and b squared. Now you see the box gonna be okay, so this one's 6, right? So 3 times 2, right? And then what times what equal to negative 10? 5 and 2. So if I do 5 and 2, that's going to give me 15 and 4. This one, which one need to be negative in order to get negative? 15 need to be negative. So you can pair like this. So it'll be 3x plus 2 times 2x minus 5.
I already know the last one.
Alright, good.
Is that you gonna go get your phone?
Yeah, Benjamin's going to get
I have a
me.
question. You know how Sue Smith? What is the? What I did.
Benjamin, you got to go get my phone.
I was 6x off top and then adding that.
They multiply. They multiply here, they multiply here, they multiply here. No, you don't miss it. You're fine.
Nobody talked to you?
It's not a homework, right? It's a binder, right? Yeah, that's fine. Binder and marker.
So did they talk to you or something, or?
Yes, I didn't talk to you about something.
Do you have to do homework?
Yes, you had to do homework.
Which one?
That's the post on the photo, just the new one.
Is there any one?
Yeah, he said that each one had like a 45
So if you're not interested, it's okay. If you, are you guys interested or no?
I am someone.
Okay, so we have together one here is like you guys have to generate a day. Like I can stay after school to teach you for 1 hour a week. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna teach the pre-cal stuff because pre-cal stuff is here right now is really easy for you. We're gonna actually teach you actual pre-cal stuff where you can actually look at a different question, different things. But at the same time, you guys can help other students when the actual class time. So you guys have to decide either Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, which day you guys want. Then we can actually teach something that's outside the curriculum that you guys can be fit for. Now, is that gonna help you on SAT? Maybe, most likely. SAT 2 more likely.
We write as passes.
Yes. Okay, so you guys have to come up with a day. So think about which day is more convenient and we can sit down and talk about which is best day for you.
Wednesday.
Huh?
Wednesday.
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 That's fencing club.
Wednesday? No Wednesday? Okay, you don't know, okay. You don't want to, right?
I didn't say that. The thing is, I have to do also because I have Providence College on Mondays and Wednesdays at work and things like that. So my schedule is hard. So Wednesdays for me is not.
So it's possible to switch into fifth period calculus or no? It's not possible for you to switch to fifth period calculus, right?
I have talked to my counselor.
Alright. Let me know.
Will you send
Yes.
will you send my parents so they know about it, or?
That's fine.
Okay. Do you know my parents' email, or?
No, I don't. Okay, who need passes? Just you?
I can't do Mondays. I'm putting Friday and Thursday. I'm
It's for
putting Friday
keyboard
as
class
like
in
my
keyboard class in 200.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do
Nobody checked the.
All except
So Wednesday?
Wednesday
Okay,
would be the
Wednesday's
best
fine.
day.
Huh?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday is fine.
Yeah, me too.
Friday, I have Friday.
They don't check.
I don't even know what day it is.
I have another person.
I have a question on that problem.
Yeah.
So you said that this is a quarter of a circle?
No, this quarter circle R.
Oh, we have to touch base.
face on it. And his name was
Paris the what?
Huh?
Mr. Yan,
to talk about the problem.
Huh?
do you need my parents' email?
Just a model. Send a model to me.
Send it privately or how do I send it?
Send it privately.
How?
You'll figure out. Don't worry.
Oh.
If you cannot figure out it, let me know tomorrow.
You could leave early. But yeah, it's fine.
Are you recording?
Am I? I think so.